What's up, family, friends, and folks, and everybody out there? I hope you enjoyed this Independence Day weekend. I didn't get a chance to actually celebrate much myself. To be honest, I was on the road. I thought that I would make it to Waco, Texas earlier, at least Amarillo. Wasn't able to get there. What happened was we had a little incident, a little breakdown. We needed repair when we were in Des Moines, New Mexico. Des Moines, New Mexico. Uh, Out there, we needed to get some repairs. So I think we were stuck in Dalbert or something like that, Texas, and then we continued down. But we got here Saturday and been in the hotel since then, just kind of chilling and trying to reset and because that's what it's 34-hour reset. If you don't know, I'm a trucker. And so you got to do this 34-hour reset every week. And so we've been in here resetting, kind of trying to prepare for the week, get things together, getting my show together. And so this is the show today. This is Everything's Debatable. I'm your host, Bosco. This is the show where we talk about everything. No topic is off limits. My wonderful wife just walked in just in time with my paper. Thank you so much. I definitely appreciate you. Yeah, so we're in Waco, Texas today. I'm live streaming from where we at? The Hilton Garden Inn, Waco, Texas. Wanted to go over to the Saltgrass restaurant, steakhouse, to get some reviews of that. Maybe we'll get there eventually. But anyway, today, first thing that I wanted to talk about on this particular episode was the big, beautiful bill that was just passed by President Trump. It was signed into law on Independence Day by President Trump. Big, beautiful bill. I actually call it the big bloated bill. That's what that's the terminology I'm going to use for this particular bill. And I have to be honest, on its face, when I look at the bill, it seems fabulous. It's a great bill on its face. And I will say this. When I was reading it, you have um, the no taxes on the tips, no taxes on overtime. I believe it said in there. The cuts to Medicaid. And I don't think a lot of people understand this. The cuts to Medicaid are based on requirements. So, for instance, you're going to have work requirements. There's going to be eligibility checks. States have to fund more of it. And there was another caveat. I can't remember right now. But those changes, I think that in the beginning it will cause some disruption to a lot of people. But I think that it's actually fair. You know what I mean? I do believe that it's fair. The fact that you're saying, okay, if you're going to receive this Medicaid insurance, that you have to work a certain amount of hours. I've always been for, even if you get welfare or anything, I believe that you should have to work. That's my personal opinion. Pick up some trash, do whatever you got to do. If you're able-bodied, go and work. The eligibility checks, I think, are good too. I know a lot of people may not like it. It may, put some people in a situation, but at the same time, I think it's a good thing. The no taxes on the tips, and they have this new deduction for seniors. I think it's like $6,000 or something like that. Now what I'm trying to understand, and I have to go and research this, is the 40,000 deduction on state taxes. I want to understand because how will that affect the states as far as their tax revenue? I'm interested in researching it. Maybe that'll be something that I talk about next week. Another thing that he's doing that's in this bill is there's a baby bonus. I don't know if you heard about this. If you haven't, you heard about it now. There's $1,000 baby bonus in this new big beautiful bill. If you over the next, I think 4 years, you have a baby, it'll be put in some account, I guess, that Trump is putting together, and they hold it until they're 18 years old, and then the funds become available. That's awesome. And the more and more, we hear about these policies and stuff, the more and more, I have to be honest, I like what's happening. You know what I mean? I think those things are good. But this is the but. The problem that I see with this big, beautiful, bloated bill is this. And maybe I'm wrong. Keep in mind, everything is debatable. I could be wrong, but taxes is what is used to run our federal government, right? So if you continue these tax breaks, and not only that, you stop, taxes on tips and overtime, and then I think there was something about Social Security as well. No taxes on that, I believe. So you do that, then you increase the deficit, right? Which gives you room to borrow more money, right? Eventually, what will happen is that you have to pay that. That money has to come from somewhere for you to pay that money back. It has to come from somewhere. And so I think that right now, in the immediate, over the next few years, even maybe beyond, his presidency, you'll see tremendous growth, right? You'll see um, tremendous growth in a number of areas. People will be spending more money, but I think that that's going to be a problem too, because you have to put the money in the hands of the consumers. And I don't necessarily know that the people who are going to be getting extra money on their overtime, no taxes on tips, are actually really consumers. I think that they may be people who invest or save, right? So if they are the people who save their money or invest their money, then eventually what will happen is the boost to the economy that you believe is going to happen will not happen, because they are not the consumers. They are the savers, the one that say, okay, well, we don't know what's going to happen after this term, so let's save our money. So the money does not come back into the economy. It's just put in the bank, and it sits in the bank, and the little interest that they get, or they put it in the stocks, or, Bitcoin, or wherever else they want to invest their money. And so I think, and I believe that that's the reason. I believe that that's the reason that Elon Musk was against this bill. Because keep in mind, just 2 months ago, he was heralded as the czar of government efficiency, and he was going to find all of this fraud and waste and abuse. And I'm curious as to what happened with that. Like, that was supposed to happen. It was supposed to be arrest and all of this stuff, and then that just stopped. But anyway, he's against this bill. He was against this bill, and it caused a rift between Trump and Elon Musk. And I think the reason is because he sees what's going to happen down the line, right? He sees what's going to happen in the future. And on that note, I'll say this. And I do want to send my condolences to the families who have been affected by the tragedies in Texas, right? Um, so, and my wife is saying, and it was a great point. Can you imagine you sent your children there to camp, and what have you sent um, an entire family has sent their children there, and now they can't be located. They can't find them, or they lost their life. So, and it's a reminder. Even today, perusing on Facebook, I saw someone who I had befriended years ago, and I know that they were dealing with cancer, and just recently passed. And death is just a reminder that life is very precious. And I think that you have to use every moment wisely, especially around the people that you love, you know. But anyway, when I'm talking about the effects that you see later, right? The floods in Texas, and I have this information. I just got this information. I want to read some of this for you so that you understand what happened because of the choices that were made earlier, and they were seen as great choices for the president and the administration. But the reality of them only take effect later. So as far as the flood, the FEMA building resilient infrastructure in communities, that was BRIC, and flood mitigation assistance, FMA, were the two largest FEMA programs dedicated to reducing risk before disaster strikes. In April 2025, FEMA eliminated BRIC and scaled back FMA funding entirely. These pre-disaster investments typically yield $6 to $13 of benefit for every dollar spent. Their removal means fewer community-level upgrades like raised flood barriers or early flood detection, leaving towns more vulnerable. So that's a later effect. You cut back, you scale back, you eliminate certain parts of it, and then you have this. So a CBS investigation found that such FEMA storm prep grant cuts disproportionately affected conservative and rural counties, many of which are now dealing with flash flooding. That's what's happening right now in Texas. Um, as of March 2025, FEMA was reportedly planning to phase out or downsize significantly with proposals to eliminate the agency altogether, shifting full disaster responsibility to the states. The interim FEMA leader was replaced shortly after opposing the elimination plan, signaling a push toward de-emphasis of federal capability. Meanwhile, NOAA and the NWS, the National Weather System, saw 600 staff cuts since January 2025, undermining weather monitoring, forecasting, and real-time warning systems. Texas officials, right? Texas officials have pointed out that NWS forecast significantly underestimated the flood's magnitude. Warnings predicted 3 to 8 inches of rain, but some areas received up to 15 inches, causing flash floods that rose 26 feet in under an hour. Local leaders emphasized the residents did not receive timely or accurate warnings, leading them to be caught off guard. Experts attribute this failure partly to staff shortages and outdated systems resulting from federal cuts. So that's what I mean. You have the things look great immediately, but you see the effects later. And I think the same thing will happen when we're talking about this big, beautiful bill. I think for the next 4 years, people are going to be riding high, especially the people who support this administration. And then later on, the next administration or even the one after that will have to deal with all of the consequences. So that's my take on it. Anyway, Diddy, I guess his verdict was sometime this week. He was found not guilty on the more serious charges, racketeering, and I forget what the other one was, trafficking or something like that. Well, I kind of knew that was, what was going to happen. I don't even know what the rest of the and the interesting thing about that is that people will always say that the federal government already has the evidence to convict you before they even take you to trial. That's why they have such a high conviction rate, because they have all of the information. So what was the difference in this particular case with Diddy? What was the difference? Why did they go to court and what did they really even bring up? The last thing that I saw was that Kid Cudi said that he threw a Molotov cocktail at his Porsche and something else, threw a Molotov at his Porsche or whatever. But all of the other charges that they were talking about were just trumped up charges. I don't even know how you were going to try to convict him based on the evidence. Like I mentioned, a while ago, if you go back and look at some of my earlier episodes, the worst case scenario, he was pimping, like he was bringing women in and male escorts in, and they were having their freak off parties or whatever. That's what was happening. So But yeah, today I got Brick David. He's a comedian from Canada, Canadian comedian, um, that'll be coming on later as a guest. So we'll be talking to him here in a minute. What else did I have today? I wanted to talk more about it. Did you have any thoughts? Nobody cares about Diddy. Nobody really cares about that stuff, do they? Not really. Nobody cares. Oh, but what I did want to say, this is what I want to say. This was the reason I brought him up. It wasn't necessarily to talk about the verdict. It's to talk about what they call agent provocateurs. That's a nice word. Kind of rolls off the tongue. Provocateurs. Agent provocateurs. But anyway, this is what I see. And I this is my space, this is my show, so I could be honest with you here. You saw this Diddy thing, and then people were like, throwing him under the bus, whatever. And people have the right to feel however they want to feel about it, right? But after the verdict, you started to see people coming out, still saying that he was guilty and that he was hiding something or whatever. And also what I noticed was the Red Lobster. The guy, I guess he was the CEO of PF Chang. He came over to Red Lobster. He made some changes, revamped everything, and has these new seafood boils and stuff like that. And what I've been seeing online is like these posts about how it's bland and how it's not seasoned and all of this stuff. And what I've concluded, and I could be wrong, keep in mind, everything is debatable, but I don't know if all the time it's Black people who are behind these pages who are making these posts. I don't know. A lot of times I believe that there are people of other ethnicities and ethnic backgrounds who are making these posts, but it seems that we have a tendency to what am I trying to say? Do you know what I'm trying to say, Carmen? Yeah, but tear our own people down. But I'm talking about the fact that when we see these things, we tend to latch on to it. Like we crave drama, messiness. Yeah, that's kind of what I mean. And I don't know. It's just I think that we really need to stop doing that. Yeah, we really need to stop doing that. Stop tearing each other down. Stop doing that. It's not a good look. It's not a good look. Not a good look for us as people. You know what I mean? So I saw this story recently. This lady sold her house or property in California, and she decided to go live on a cruise ship. I think she spent like 142,000. She has like 15 years. I guess that's the lifetime cruise thing. To be on this cruise, and she's going to visit like 467 different places and stuff like that. And I'm just wondering, would you do that? She sold her home. So again, she sold her property in California, and she spent $142,000 to live on a cruise ship. She lives on the cruise ship for the next 15 years, and she's going to visit 460 something different places or something like that while she's on this cruise. You would do it. I would do it too. I think I would do it. Because I would do it. Well, so I like one all the time. Just like go on the 15-year 15-year cruise. Right. You're just on there the whole time. All over the place. Yeah. And not only that, when I thought about it was the fact that you get free housekeeping. You get free food. You know what I mean? Those two things right there, just that wins it for me. The housekeeping and the food. They can't. If they included your drinks, there'd probably be too many people trying to do it. But I should look that up though. I should research it, find out. Do they include your drinks? You would do that? You want to do that? Me and you do that? 15 years, we come back when we like 65, 70 or something. You don't want to do it? I thought you wanted to do it. You just said you wanted to do it. Now you don't want to do it. But you don't. Not right now. Okay, I got you. Understood. Uh yeah. So would you live on a cruise ship for 15 years? Would you just live on a cruise ship? You know, like I said, you get free housekeeping, you get free drinks, you get to travel to visit 400 different places. I would do it. I definitely think I would do it. Um, so we got about what 10 more minutes before comedian Brick Davis joins us here as our guest. So let me see. Maybe I can do the rapid fire round. Uh, rapid fire, hot seat lightning round. Okay. One. Do you prefer a loud chewer or a loud snorer? Snorer. I would say that too. I would definitely say a loud snorer. For one, I'm probably going to be asleep anyway. I'm gonna fall asleep. But I absolutely loathe not even. I don't even know if it's loud chewers, smackers. Absolutely, I hate when people smack. Like close your mouth and chew your food. Don't smack. Don't and eat with you and then talk with food in your mouth. Oh, what are you doing? What are you doing? So okay, would I snitch for $1 million? Yes. Would I snitch for $1 million? Yes. I want to probably snitch. I don't know though. I don't know. Like what when you say snitch? When you say snitch, what do you mean? Right. Because that was my first thing. When you say snitch, what do you mean by snitch? Well, who am I snitching on? What are we snitching about? Was it something I was involved in and I had to snitch? Or are you saying I saw somebody commit a murder and I had to tell that they committed the murder? What are you saying? What you snitch for $1 million? A lot of y'all gonna snitch for a lot less. So don't get on here talking about. All right. It's crazy. Sometimes I can't. This is one right here. What you doing? Text after 10 p.m. Is that a red light or a green light? Both. It's both. Why do you say it's both? Because it depends on what you're looking for. Well, this is what I say. This is what I say. A red, yeah, red, red light, green light. Let me say this. Right. Okay. Well, I would say what I thought of was if it's a woman and somebody hits you after 10 p.m. with what you doing, for a lot of women that's probably a red light. It depends though. It depends on. It depends. I was saying for women. For a man, like for a man, if a female texts you a man after 10 p.m., that's automatically green light. You see what I'm saying? Like, oh, it's green. What I'm saying is that a woman, but you just said it though. For a woman, it could be red or green. It doesn't necessarily have to be red. I was just thinking red because most women, like, they're probably thinking like, well, you call me after 10, that's all you on is trying to get stuff. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Right. That's very true. That's very true. All right. Who lies more, men or women? Women, most assuredly. Big facts. Women, women lie the most. Women lie the most. Men may get caught lying the most. Women lie the most, and they will go to their deathbed with a lie. Trust and believe me, fellas. Trust and believe me. Women will go to their deathbed with a lie. Men are just no. I'm not saying that men won't go to their bed without a lie. Women definitely will, because a woman may not get caught. It's women right now that still have men claiming babies that's not theirs. Facts. Omitting things is the same thing. Omitting the truth is the same thing as a lie. That's a lie. That's still a lie. And that's still especially a lie if a person acts that specifically for that. Right? Who lies more, men or women, is the question. Women definitely lie more. All right. Okay. Top 3 things that are lied about on a first date. Top 3 things lied about on the first date. I would say 1, relationship status. Number 1 is relationship status. Somebody's lying about that. Number 2, probably your work status. Whether that's if you're working or if you're not working, what you do, yeah, your finance. That's what I meant. Finances. Number 2 would be your finances. So number 1, relationship status. Number 2 would be finances. Number 3, the number 3 thing that would be lied about on the first date. Third thing, I was thinking maybe kids, but I don't think people are gonna be too much lying about that though. For sure, finances. Yeah, we're there, we're meeting, and you talking to me. What am I lying about? You know what else people can possibly be lying about? Their living arrangements. Living arrangements. You know what I mean? Whether you know who do you stay with, where you live? Oh, right now I live with my sister. You know what I'm saying? Whole time they living with their wife. You know what I mean? So that could be one. Top 3 things that people lie about on the first date. Yeah. So still waiting on Brick David. He should be here in a couple of minutes. I think he has a link. What else? I had one more thing that I was going to talk about. I was going to try to talk about it after the interview with Brick David, the comedian from Canada. Um, anyway, while we're waiting, if you got a loved one behind bars or fighting a case, you already know it's not just a legal battle; it's emotional, spiritual, and financial. That's why my nonprofit paralegal service exists to bring real help with no strings attached. Looking to help people who have been in, the situations I've been in. And the reason I thought of it, let me tell you a quick story. What happened to me while we wait for Brick David to join. Um, last time I went to prison. Um, I'm not going to discuss, the case, whatever. So anyway, they started off. They were offering me like 15 years at 85%. Um, didn't want to take it. So And then this is the honest truth. I asked, oh, here we have Brick David ready to come on. So let's, oh, I wish I had my applause for Brick David joining us. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, I got you. Let me see here. Ladies and gentlemen, and this is my intro. I don't know if it's good enough for you, but I tried, right? Ladies and gentlemen, and people of fabulous fashion, today's guest is what happens when you mix Canadian maple syrup with Gen Z sass and just a pinch of Nintendo nostalgia. He's a stand-up comic, sketch savage, and possibly the first man to ever flirt during a heckler takedown. Please welcome Brick David.
Thank
Uh,
you. Thank you.
all right. First off, Brick, the name. And be honest, Brick David sounds like a Minecraft character with a student loan. Where does it come from?
So my legal name is David. My last name starts with a B. And long story short, I had to have business cards years ago when I was working for a bank, and they just messed up on my business cards, and they wrote David Brick. And my buddy and I were having a laugh at it, and I was like, "Oh, Brick David, Brick David." Actually, wait a minute. And then it just kind of stuck, and that was back in 2017. And then I got into stand up, and I was like, "Well, this is way better of a name, anyways, and I like this better." So it just kind of stuck, and now it's Brick, baby.
Yeah, that's cool. A lot of times, people in comedy, they actually just create names themselves anyway, right?
Yeah.
Right? Oh, okay.
I've got a few buddies who, like, they work for like the government or like teachers or something like that, or like they don't want their family to know that they're doing stand up, so they're like, "I'll change things around for XYZ reasons."
Right. You grew up Canadian, right?
That's right.
Okay. What's the most stereotypical Canadian thing about you? And what's
Oh,
something that you would get kicked out of Canada immediately? That would get you kicked out of Canada immediately?
I guess the most Canadian thing about me is that I mean, I apologize a lot. There's been times where like I'll be looking down at my phone, I bump into like a stop sign. I'm like, "Oh, sorry. Oh, damn it." I'm not super nice, but I apologize all the time. Something that would get me kicked out of Canada? Oh gosh. Not anything. It's a good thing I didn't have Twitter or too much social media when I was in high school, because I was just so dumb. I was
Oh
just
yeah.
so dumb. I mean, nobody's their best in high school, but just some of the dumb things I would say that you're not allowed to say now, and yeah, that probably would have not been okay.
Right. Can we get an example?
No, because I'll get me kicked out right now.
All right. Who were your biggest comedy influences growing up?
Growing up, I would say Dane Cook was one of the first stand-up comics that I really got into. It was like one of the earlier days of YouTube, and there was his special Vicious Circle, which somebody had like animated over like a bunch of the different sketches. So like that's kind of how I really got into stand-up, because I was watching, I was like, "Oh, there's a funny little cartoon, it's very funny," and then eventually I was like, "Oh, this isn't just like some animated show. This is just a guy doing stand-up, and somebody just dubbed over or just kind of drew over it." So that was one of the big ones. Bill Burr, obviously, just one of the best, and Dave Chappelle,
definitely.
Top three.
Yeah, Bill Burr is really funny. Were you a Conan and cartoons kid, or more Ellen and evil Disney villain type?
Oh, definitely more cartoons.
More cartoons.
Definitely a bit Disney as well, but definitely cartoons.
All right. You bring this real playful, almost theatrical energy to your sketches and your stand up. You ever feel like I don't like that. I have someone else write these for me. I don't really like that one.
It's okay.
Yeah. All right, so let me say this.
That's a good saying.
All right. Hold on. What's your dream gig? Netflix special opening for Margaret Child, voice of Chaotic Squirrel in an animated series. What's your dream gig?
Oh boy. I mean, having my own special would be great. I mean, Netflix is kind of just, it's easy one of the big ones to find stand up. So I mean, that'd be fantastic if I got put on Netflix. That'd be wonderful. If I could, even before that, if I could just like tour with like Burr, just like open for him, even once, I'd be real happy to do that. But I also do like, I also love voice acting, and I always thought like the peak of like voice acting, if I could ever get there, was like if I were to ever be invited to like Comic-Con as like a guest. That would be, I'm like, that's how you make it as like as a voice actor or anything like that. But otherwise for stand up, yeah, just like having several specials, just being undeniably funny, and just being able to like kind of tour the world to do stand up. That's the dream.
Have you done a lot of voice acting in the past?
Not a lot. I've done a little bit, just a lot of like little amateur projects, but nothing that anybody's seen other than like the handful of people who made it, basically.
Which are you still interested in doing more of the voice acting?
Yeah, I love voice acting. I did like grow up with kind of like an acting background. Not like I was like a child star or anything like that, but like I went to an arts high school for drama. I went to college for drama and stuff. And it's just regular acting, I guess, versus voice acting is just completely different. Because like growing up, I'll see shows like Friends, and you see Joey's like, oh, I got to go down and audition, and I got to meet the directors and all that. But you don't do any of that now, for the most part. It's just like me in my laundry room with my phone, just filming a self tape. And a lot of times they'll have you start off your self tape like, oh, I'm Brick David, 5'7", and immediately with acting, just like with Tinder, they hear 5'7", that's not 6 foot. They're like, well, we don't really need this guy.
Oh,
we'll find
wow.
somebody else. But voice
That's
acting,
crazy.
I'm like, I can be as ugly as I want. I can be as tall or short, doesn't matter.
Right, exactly. Have you ever written like an animated series? Have you looked into doing that at all, or?
No, I kind of dabbled with it. I was doing some writing a couple years ago with a project that I never just kind of took off the ground. A big thing for me is that like for everything you kind of need to wear like 100 hats. So I'm like, okay, I can write the story and I can draw some of the rough art, but then I now need to learn how to animate it, or I have to pay somebody to do that. And that's just a whole bundle of worms, just to be able to have somebody edit it or animate it and then edit it. And then voice acting is easy because like everybody wants to be a star. Everybody would just do it. Like, hey, who wants to do a voice acting thing? People do it just to have something in their demo reel.
Exactly. Yeah. As far as the your comedy, what like clubs have you been to the United States at all? Toward here though?
No, I haven't been to the States yet. In terms of clubs I've been to, like because I'm like Toronto based, it's like I did Yuck Yucks, Spotlight, in Ottawa, Spotlight Comedy, and like St. Catharines, but it's just easier to say Niagara Falls because that's a name that people have heard of. A few spots in Toronto, like there's a couple comedy bars, Comedy Lab. There's Jokers in Richmond Hill. I would say like those are probably like the biggest club names that I guess I could say that I've done.
Okay. Let me see what else I have here for you. So let me let you have the floor for a second while I kind of get some more of these questions together. Just tell the people, the audience, more about yourself and what you do, where they can find you, your comedy, if you have a YouTube, whatever.
Yeah, you can find me Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Brick David Comedy. Brick, like you build a house out of. David, like you build a Jewish star out of, I guess. Comedy, that's pretty self-explanatory. I mostly post on TikTok and Instagram. Those are my favorites. YouTube, I haven't been dabbling too much in that one. For the most part, I'll just kind of post something when I need to send somebody like a clip with a URL. I'm a big old nerd. I'd say about like 30 to 40% of my body is dedicated to Legend of Zelda tattoos because I'm definitely very wise with my money and probably a little bit autistic. Comedy wise, I love stand up so much. Every time I go out and do it, even if I have a bad set, I'm like, oh God, this is so much fun. I love it. I'm a cheeky little rascal. Sometimes I'll play it clean when I have to. When you get some of the cauliflower heads in the audience, that just means old people with curly white hair. And oh boy, actually just Friday, so I guess just a couple days ago, I was doing a spot in Toronto at Comedy Lab, and oh boy, I was very surprised because my mom and dad showed up. I was not expecting that. They did not warn me.
How did that turn out?
It went. I was very thankful that the other comics were very kind to me, so they weren't asking my parents too many questions. Like, you guys still putting down performances? Because that would have been traumatizing. But the set went well. I had to clean up a lot of my act. Not that I'm like a filthy comic all the time, but I was like, all right, well, if I'm making jokes about family, maybe we don't tell the joke about my grandma wanting to commit suicide in front of my dad. Maybe we don't talk too much about the sex jokes in front of my mom and dad because,
Right.
well,
Yeah.
that's pretty self-explanatory.
Right.
So, I mean, it went well. I still had a lot of fun with it. And, like you do stand up enough times once you get up there, like, you kind of know what you're doing. You just got to lean into it, play with it and whatnot.
Okay. And the reason I didn't want to get into some of these, I wasn't sure, but maybe I can ask you if you don't mind.
Yeah, you can
Are you
ask
part of
anything.
the LGBTQ community?
Yeah, I'm bi as hell, dog. Which
Oh,
is
you are?
something that I had a joke that I was gonna tell the other day, but my parents don't know that, so I was like, you know what, this doesn't seem like the time or place
Right.
to drop that one.
Right. Oh,
Hopefully they're not
so
watching
they
right
don't
now.
know? Are you
Nah, they
saying they
don't know.
don't know?
Nah,
Oh,
they might have guessed, but I mean, I have a girlfriend, so like even if they know, they're like, it's
okay. I got
probably
you.
a
I got you.
phase or something.
All right. So that was the thing. That was where I was at here. It was asking stuff about that, and I just wanted to make sure before I got there. Um, do you think comedy has evolved enough, as far as to involve, people of the LGBTQ community?
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm a firm believer that like you can make jokes about anything if it's funny. The problem is like the little asterisk is that it's not really up to the comedian to decide if it's funny. Because I mean, every comic in the world is probably like they wrote a joke and they're like, "Oh, this is so funny." You take it to stage and then people don't laugh, and it's like you can
Right.
get grumpy about it. Like people are too sensitive. X, Y, Z. Like you can come up with 100 reasons as to why that joke didn't work. But the reality is, I'm like, well, if people aren't laughing, then it's just not that funny of a joke. You can
Right.
rewrite it, you can rephrase it. But yeah, I think you can joke about anything. I will say that in Canada, I don't know how it is in the States, but like I know in Canada, like anytime I heard somebody make like a native joke or like like an Aboriginal joke, depending on what the term is, those jokes almost never go over well. So that's one of the
Right.
only topics, and I'm like trans rights is one of those things. It's like it's a little touchy to make trans jokes, native jokes. Like I not worth
Stay
it. Don't
away
even touch
from
it.
period. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you test your jokes? Is it, do you go to like smaller clubs first, or do you ask friends?
Yeah. What I'll do is I'll usually hit up a few open mics. Like there's some jokes where I write it and you kind of sometimes you'll write a joke, you're like, all right, I know this is pretty funny. But like, yeah, you have to take it to the open mics. Sometimes if I'll work it into like a real show, like if I'm on just at the club or something like that, I'll just kind of like sandwich it in between some other jokes. And I'm like, all right, like if they're already having a laugh and they're having a good time, then I can kind of test a new joke and just see if it works. And if it doesn't work, you keep going. Maybe you address it. You can laugh at it, be like, oh, that didn't work. And you have more jokes and you just keep going, but you don't get hung up on it.
Right.
I'll
How do you? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I've made the mistake way too many times every week. I'll write a joke that I think is pretty funny, and then I tell it to my girlfriend. I love her to death. She doesn't like stand-up comedy. She doesn't like stand up at all. So
Uh,
when I tell her a new joke, she's very prone to be like, "Oh, well, actually, the reason is this." I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know what and I do it
Sounds
all the
like my
time. I don't
wife.
know what I was thinking." Yeah.
Right. As far as your material, is it more like, do you get your jokes from like observation, or where do you get your material?
Yeah, I would say observation. Like there are sometimes, like I will sit down and try to write. Sometimes, there'll be times like I'll look through the dictionary. Sometimes I'll just pick a word. And I'm like, all right, let's just write as many jokes as you can with a theme around this word. Maybe it's like a play on words, double entendre. It might relate to something else. There's some times where you'll just be existing, and then a spark of inspiration will come to you, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't think about that," or just like I don't know. The other day, I'm just like, "This isn't even a fully fleshed out joke. This is just a random thought I have that I might try to turn into a joke." But it's like the idea that like cultural appropriation is bad. People don't like that, but at the same time, like noodles were invented in China, and trying to tell everybody in Italy that they can't have pasta, like that's not going to go over
Right.
well. So stuff
That
like
that
that, I'm
is
like,
good.
oh, that's a thought.
Yeah.
Can I make this funny?
Yeah. That is funny. Well, I just had something else. That's why I try to interrupt sometimes because I'll lose my thought. Uh, Observation. Oh, what initially got you into comedy? I know that you mentioned performing. You said you went to performance school or something, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I've always been kind of just like a kooky little guy. Just, I always like to make people laugh. I'm a middle child, so I need attention. But I always really like to be funny and to make people laugh. And I knew stand up was something that I really wanted to do for, oh gosh, at least 2/3 of my life. But I always found reasons to not do it. One of those big reasons was that, like, I didn't know how to start. And my dad is very much like, he's a great person, but he's always like, hey, you got to go to university, you got to become a doctor, you got to, work at the bank, suit and a tie. And that's not really my jam. So I always just kind of kept pushing it off. And then eventually, I listened to enough stand-up podcasts, and I built up enough kind of gumption. I was like, all right, I'm going to finally do it. And then things just kind of worked out well, where I met somebody who was a stand-up comedian through like, I did a job at like a haunted house, because I kept doing things. I'm like, okay, well, maybe if I work at a haunted house, this will help me learn about stand-up, because in stand-up you make a joke and it either works or it doesn't, and you have to accept that and keep going. But if you're working at a haunted house, you try to scare somebody, and they're either going to get scared or they won't, and you just have to accept that and keep going.
Right.
And somebody I worked with there was a comedian, or he still is. And then one day he's just messaging the work group chat, and he's like, hey, if anybody wants to try stand up, I run an open mic at the Groove Bar. And if you do really well, I'm doing a proper show at Comedy Bar the following week. So if you crush it at the open mic, maybe I'll put you on. And then, I had that olive branch. So I went out, I did my 5 minutes. I had one drunk guy love it. And once I heard that one guy just laughing, I was like, all right, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. This is perfect.
Right.
And then he put me on his main show at Comedy Bar. And it's just been what I'm doing ever since.
Nice. For young LGBTQ comics who want to break out for, but feel boxed in by labels, what's your advice or your warning for them?
Don't get me wrong, like, I'm not an expert, so like whatever I say, take it with a grain of salt, use it or don't. But just be yourself, just have fun, do your thing. I find a lot of times, like, I don't advertise my sexuality, and it's not that, like, I'm embarrassed. I mean, obviously my parents, it's just my mom's very religious, so it's just easier for me to not have that conversation, because otherwise she might say I'm gonna go to hell or cry or something like that. But in general, it's like, yeah, you can be who you are, but not everything has to be like your identity. Like, I'm bi, but I don't go around all the time, and like, I don't have a lot of jokes about being bi. And I'll do pride shows, which are great, but I see a lot of the times people in the LGBTQ community, and in no way am I harping on it or saying anything negative, but it's like that has to be the identity. And while that can be great and it can be really funny, and there's nothing wrong with it at all, at that point you are kind of putting yourself into a box, because you're like, oh, I'm the gay comic, or I'm the trans comic. And it's like, you're, yes, but you're also just a comic. So there's a million and one things you can make jokes about. So just being able to kind of branch out doesn't hurt anybody.
Exactly.
And it allows you to play in more spaces, because obviously there's going to be some spaces where some audiences aren't going to like that as much. So nobody's saying that you have to hide who you are or should be ashamed in any way, but you have to cater to the audience. So if you're going up there, like I did a show recently in a small town with a bunch of retirees that were not very LGBTQ friendly. And a buddy of mine, he's doing some gay jokes, and I hear people in the audience being like, this ain't the place for dick sucking jokes. And it's like, this older crowd isn't super down for that. Not saying that you have to not do that comedy, but just, have other jokes.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Before I end this, we have what we call a hot seat lightning round. So I'm gonna ask you some quick questions, just for quick answers. All right.
Sure.
All right. Where I'm at. What do you hate more? A loud chewer or a loud snorer?
I gotta say loud chewer, just because I'm the loud snorer, and Oh, I've been sleeping on the couch for a while with that one. My girl's just on new meds to help her sleep, so I finally get to go back in my own bed.
Oh, nice. Okay, let me see. Would you snitch for $1 million?
For $1 million? Yeah, fuck that. I mean, depending who I'm snitching on, if it's like my boy, I'm like, you know what? No, I'd probably still do it. I'm like, listen, man, here's like 20K. Might be $1 million is $1 million.
Right. What you doing text after 10 p.m. Is that a red flag or a green flag?
That's a green flag, if you know what I mean.
A green flag.
Yeah.
All right. Who lies more, men or women?
Oh, I'm gonna say men.
What? Really?
Oh, that was a lie right there. Women lie more, obviously. I fooled you. Look at
that. Yeah. All right. Top 3 things that people lie about on a first date.
Okay, I would say their job. So if their job, their future plans, and their likes and hobbies, basically like shared interests. Like, oh, you like that band? Me too, obviously.
Right. That was a good one. I didn't think of that one. We said, my wife and I said, relationship status. What was the second one? Finances. And what was the third one? Can't remember. But anyway, your top 3 was awesome. I want to thank you, Brick David. I didn't want to keep you long. Follow Brick David. Is this the right place at Brick David Comedy?
Yep, that's it.
And that's on everything, right? Across all platforms?
Yep. Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, I don't know, all of it.
All right. So go follow at Brick David Comedy on everything. Funny, fearless, and probably the only guy who can make Canada and chaos look cute.
I like that.
All right. Thanks again, Brick.
Thanks for having me. Cheers, guys. You too.